Hello, welcome to Remnant 2, a melee build. Now, unlike other melee builds, this is not actually going to be one of those fancy ranged melee builds. It's going to be more or less a melee build. But the problem is that with most melee builds in Remnant, you actually test a lot of things out and only to see that whatever works as a melee build would have worked anyway because it was the other items that supported. Anyway, the idea is that this crystal stuff over here, it's a fun weapon, but I think the developers pre-nerfed it, so I cannot really integrate it in any builds. I tried all of the possible combinations, meaning I tried to have attack speed, I tried to have a lot of damage, I tried to have a lot of effects. Nothing really works because at the end of the day it's all about the damage. You don't do enough damage in a relatively short time period. So I went overall with this build. The Ritualist with the Invoker, of course the Way of Keola and the Miasma, which the Miasma still is not really affected by all of the trinkets properly. Leto set, health, melee attack speed and elemental damage. Now I'll be also using this rifle over here because it has an interesting effect. The Sparkfire tends to do a lot of damage if you shoot a few times, but if you shoot it a lot of times, it doesn't do that much damage. So the idea is to shoot it a couple of times. With the Flying Bomb Trap, you'll apply a lot of corrosive stacks, you'll apply a lot of other cool stuff. The crystal stuff I want for the Tainted Blade. I am not sure this properly applies the damage bonus to the melee because, well, it's also pretty hard to see. I guess we can try it a little bit. $135. Might work. Yeah, good luck seeing the number. Anyway, I'll just assume everything is going nicely and works as intended just because of the damage being a little bit harder to calculate because it's damage over time. You also get a big burst of damage and you also hit it with one projectile. Keep in mind that charging it once will also fire a projectile, so yeah. If you can hit the enemy more times it's great, but that's super hard to do. I tried with a build that had a lot of attack speed and I could hit most enemies a couple of times, but that's not really going to work in the long term, especially against certain bosses. So yeah, Tainted Blade worked the best. Over here we have the Creeping Mist, of course, just because of the extra damage and extra critical chance, plus the Spellweaver. The Spellweaver is an interesting choice in this build just because we'll be able to reset the cooldown a little faster. So you can use the skills a little faster, and that will just be enough to kind of use it before it ends. Great. Ravager Mark with Ring of Omens for the Misty Step. The Red Ring of Death. Well, I think this is a questionable decision from my part, but I tested all of the other options out as well and they just don't work as intended. For example, the Burden of the Mason would have to be a very good ring for this build, right? It doesn't work that well. It only buffs the damage by about 24-25 damage, and overall it's not such a big improvement, so I went to the Red Ring of Death just because of all the damage you can deal with all of the extra stuff. So the Blood Jewel and the Tainted Blade, this basically inflicts bleeding, corrosive or acid damage. I guess it's corroded. So corroded, bleeding, and of course it's shock damage. And beyond that we still have a lot of other ways to deal the damage over time. Of course the Black Spindle, just because it's such a good thing to have so much healing on you. So we have the Tranquil Heart, Daily Growth, plus basically a 2% heal per second as well. So that's a lot of regeneration, so we don't need much. Now, how does this work? Well, like I said, you're mostly going to be using this attack over here. If you use everything, it's quite a spectacle. Everything just explodes and everything is misty and everything does a lot of damage, plus the shock damage is... yeah, everything scales kind of nice, but at the same time, this is one of those builds where even if I didn't have the melee weapon, we would still do a lot of damage. So this is not going to be a weapon designed to hit the enemy a lot of times. We'll just hit it once and then move out of the way. So let's test it out a little bit. reach the maximum damage potential, you have to play a little bit tricky and you have to get used to this build. First you shoot the thingy. And then you dodge that, but it's okay, we have enough resistance to get past that initial hiccup. It's okay, that's why we are so tanky. As you can see, the damage itself is very nice. And now the fun begins. Yeah, it needs a little bit of warm up, but after we get it going, it's unstoppable. As we see, that was half HP of the enemy, and we didn't really do much, did we? Now you're in danger when you're reapplying all of these wonderful things. And after you apply all of them, you can just do it like this, see? Misty, yeah, it's a fun build, but it's definitely one of the more skill-intensive ones. But since it's not dependent on ammo, you can do a lot of damage. Let's go to the next boss. This will be the true test because we just have to be very, very careful and not get too greedy in this part. I mean, the boss cannot hit us. As long as we play super careful. Yeah, good luck seeing anything. And also good luck not getting hit by the boss. Oh, actually it's a lot easier because the boss can be hurt by AoE. Yeah, I really hate this boss because of stuff like this. I guess it works, but it's so slow. Oh, I thought we had the pigs. I guess he decided to skip a phase or something. Careful now, all of the effects of the... Oh, okay. You can cause all of the effects of the damage over time by just hitting them with the homing beam, which as you can see happens every time you charge the attack. So every charge attack will release the homing beam, and that will inflict all of the damage over time effects. As you can see, are kind of massive, plus the extra healing you'd get. So there's no way to escape your AoE attacks. So even if you don't get the enemies with your AoE, you'll get them with the homing ball that will also apply all of the damage effects. And as you can see, they all get double down, so yeah. The damage of this weapon is incredible in this build. It's just that it's a little bit annoying because of the way it works, but it's... I don't know, it also feels a little bit overpowered, a little bit underpowered. It's a weird mix. Also, if you run, you can use this to shoot the lightning at the enemies, but that doesn't cause anything because it's just a normal attack. It doesn't count as an AoE that will apply your debuffs. So yeah, let's see the description again. When empowered, charged melee calls a 9mm shockwave, so it's the shockwave plus you get a power stone, and that releases an energy ball that seeks a random enemy and applies overloaded and all of the other stuff. So it's great for what it's supposed to be. Is it a fun build? Yes. Will it work against bosses? Yes. Will it take a lot of time? Yes. So I guess it's one of those builds that you have to fully commit, and it's quite fun to play the game like this. Even though most of the damage will be done by your 2 skills and by your weapon, and of course this will help you with the skill cooldown. So yeah, be a gentleman and use a melee weapon that shines.